likes flowers, but don't send me any flowers because I don't like flowers.
Ingrid! I hate her. Son.
Working on Saturday Night Live may look like a dream job. The fame, the sketches, the live audience cheering every joke. But behind the spotlight, the work is extremely demanding. Every week starts from zero. Writers have to create new material. Actors must memorize lines in just a few days, and live shows leave no room for mistakes. Former cast members often describe the process as exciting but exhausting. Many comedians, after leaving SNL, have said they barely slept and constantly worried about whether their jokes would make it into the final show. The pressure to stay funny every week breaks even the strongest performers. Some, like Bill Hader and Kate McKinnon, eventually left because they felt drained. They loved the job, but the non-stop stress made it impossible to keep going without losing joy in the work. SNL isn't just a comedy show. It's also a workplace full of creative people with big ideas and bigger egos. Over the years, several stars have spoken about tension behind the curtain. In the early seasons, Chevy Chase's ego created fights with other cast members. In the 1990s, there were creative disagreements between stars like Mike Myers and Dana Carvey over who deserved credit for certain sketches. Later on, even popular figures like Jimmy Fallon and Tina Fey had to navigate the challenges of leadership. Balancing friendships with professional responsibilities, many stars leave not because they stop loving comedy, but because they grow tired of the competition. SNL's fast pace and high expectations can turn small creative disagreements into emotional conflicts. Those who survive the longest usually learn to balance their art with diplomacy, a skill that serves them well when they move into Hollywood. For many comedians, SNL is the key that unlocks fame, but sudden fame can be dangerous. Chris Farley and John Belushi, two of the most loved SNL legends, both struggled with substance abuse that eventually took their lives. Their tragic stories serve as painful reminders that fame and pressure often come together. New cast members who arrive on the show often look up to these legends, but they also fear following the same path. Fame changes everything: the jokes, the relationships, even how someone sees themselves. Some performers, like Bill Murray and Eddie Murphy, managed to use their fame to build lasting movie careers. Others found that the spotlight was too bright. Leaving SNL can sometimes be an act of survival, a way to step back and find balance before losing control. Not everyone who leaves SNL goes on to huge success. For every Tina Fey or Eddie Murphy, there are dozens of talented performers who fade quietly after leaving the show. This fear of being forgotten keeps many comedians on the edge. They know that once they leave SNL, the world's attention might move to the next big name. That's why some stars stay longer than they should. Not because they're happy, but because they're afraid of disappearing. Cecily Strong once said she stayed a few extra seasons because she couldn't imagine not being part of SNL's family. But eventually, she realized that holding on too long can limit growth. The lesson many learn is that real success isn't about staying visible, it's about staying creative and fulfilled. Even when the spotlight moves on, no story about SNL departures is complete without mentioning Lorne Michaels. The show's creator and executive producer, Lorne has been both loved and feared by the cast for decades. His sharp instincts for comedy made SNL what it is, but his leadership style can be tough. Many former cast members say that earning Lorne's approval feels like passing an impossible test. He has the final say on which sketches air, who gets promoted, and who gets cut. Some comedians, like Chevy Chase, struggled under his control, while others, like Tina Fey, thrived because they understood his system. Lorne's decisions have often shaped careers for better or worse. Yet even those who clashed with him admit that without his strict vision, SNL wouldn't have survived this long. The balance between creative freedom and structure is what keeps the show sharp, even when it causes heartbreak for those who have to leave. One of the most fascinating things about SNL is how it keeps reinventing itself. Every time a big star leaves, people predict the end of the show, yet somehow, it always comes back stronger. When Eddie Murphy left, people thought it was over. When Will Ferrell left, they said the same. But new stars always step in, bringing new styles and voices. This constant change is part of what makes SNL special. It's not just a show. It's a living organism that adapts to every decade. The 1970s were about rebellion, the 1990s about absurd humor, the 2000s about political satire, and the 2010s about social awareness. Each generation of SNL mirrors the world it lives in. And the people who leave the show don't really leave forever. Their influence stays in every joke and every performer that comes after them. Comedy may make others laugh, but it often comes from pain. Many SNL stars have spoken openly about their mental health struggles. Pete Davidson, for example, used humor to deal with his trauma and depression. Melissa Villasera left the show after realizing that her anxiety made it difficult to keep up with the pace. Even veterans like Bill Hader and Kristen Wiig said they often felt nervous before every live show. The pressure to be funny on command is enormous. Unlike movies, SNL doesn't allow one wrong word or forgotten line can go viral online. Over time, that kind of pressure wears people down. When stars leave to protect their peace of mind, fans sometimes call it quitting. But in reality, it's an act of courage, choosing well-being over applause. For many, life after SNL becomes a journey of reinvention. Adam Sandler became a movie mogul. Tina Fey created award-winning shows. Bill Hader became a respected actor and director. Even those who struggled, like Tracy Morgan, found ways to rebuild and rediscover joy. Some stars return to host the show years later, standing on the same stage but as entirely different people. Those moments are emotional. They remind everyone that SNL is more than a job. It's a family that welcomes you back when you're ready. The show has seen heartbreak, laughter, tragedy, and triumph, and through it all, it continues to produce some of the most creative minds in entertainment. Each person who leaves takes a piece of that magic with them and carries it into the world. No matter how loved or talented a performer is, everyone eventually leaves SNL. It's an unspoken rule. The show demands so much time and energy that staying forever isn't possible. Some leave quietly, others get emotional goodbyes on live TV. But the pattern is always the same. A new generation steps in, full of energy and ideas, ready to make the audience laugh in their own way. And that's the beauty of SNL's design. It never depends on one star. It depends on the cycle of talent, growth, and change. As Bill Hader once said, SNL is like college, you're supposed to graduate. And when they do, they take the lessons of SNL resilience, creativity, and teamwork into everything they do next. Today, Saturday Night Live is more than a comedy show. It's a cultural time capsule that records every era's humor, fears, and dreams. The stars who left, whether by choice or circumstance, remain part of its DNA. Their stories of ambition, failure, heartbreak, and success show how deeply human the comedy world is. Behind every laugh is a person struggling to be seen and remembered. And that's what makes SNL so special. It's not perfect, but it's real. It gives people a chance to prove themselves, even if just for a season. And though the cast may change, the spirit never dies. Because somewhere in New York City, on a Saturday night, a new comedian is stepping into the spotlight. Ready to make the world laugh, and perhaps, one day, ready to say goodbye to. For almost 5 decades, Saturday Night Live has been a dream platform for comedians. It's a stage where unknown performers suddenly become global stars. From Chevy Chase to Kate McKinnon, many actors found fame through SNL's sketches and characters. But behind the laughter and applause, there have always been personal struggles, creative conflicts, and emotional reasons why some of these stars walked away from the show that made them famous. This article looks at the real stories behind those departures, the pain, pressure, and choices that shaped comedy history. When SNL first hit television in 1975, Chevy Chase quickly became its biggest name. His Weekend Update news, parodies and physical comedy made him an instant star. But just a year later, Chase shocked everyone by leaving the show. Officially, he said he wanted to move to Los Angeles to be with his girlfriend. But insiders knew there was more. Behind the scenes, Chase's ego caused friction with the cast, especially with John Belushi. The two often clashed, and the fame Chase gained so fast only made things worse. Though Chase went on to star in hit films like National Lampoon's Vacation, he later admitted that leaving SNL so early was a mistake. His story shows that success can come too soon, and that sometimes personal pride can cost you your greatest opportunity. Dennis Miller was the sharp, sarcastic voice of SNL's Weekend Update. During the late 1980s, his quick wit and political jokes made him a fan favorite. But in 1991, Miller decided it was time to move on. He later said he left because he wanted to make his son proud and didn't want to spend every night away from home. He also felt that after 6 seasons, he had said everything he could on the show. Miller's exit was one of the rare cases where an SNL star left on peaceful terms. Afterward, he built a successful career in talk radio and political commentary. His decision proved that not every departure from SNL comes from drama. Sometimes, it's just about knowing when your chapter is done. Norm Macdonald was a legend on SNL's Weekend Update. His dry humor and deadpan delivery made him unique. But behind his calm style, Norm had a rebellious streak. In the mid-1990s, he started making jokes about O.J. Simpson, who was then on trial for murder. The problem was that NBC's president, Don Ohlmeyer, was a close friend of O.J. Simpson. Norm refused to stop the jokes, and in 1998, he was fired. The network said the reason was low ratings, but everyone knew it was about his fearless comedy. Norm later returned as a guest host and continued making jokes about NBC, proving he had no regrets. His story became a symbol of integrity in comedy. He chose honesty and humor over job security. The early 1990s were a golden era for SNL, thanks to Adam Sandler, Chris Farley, David Spade, and others. Their goofy, energetic humor brought life to the show. But in 1995, both Sandler and Farley were fired without warning. Many fans were confused. They were popular, so why let them go? The truth was that the show was struggling with low ratings and wanted a fresh start. Both comedians took it hard, but soon found success in Hollywood. Farley starred in Tommy Boy and Black Sheep, while Sandler went on to create Happy Gilmore and Billy Madison. Sadly, Farley's story ended in tragedy when he passed away in 1997 due to substance abuse. Sandler has often said that Farley's death broke his heart. Their departures remind us that fame doesn't always protect you from pain, and sometimes the funniest people are the ones hurting the most before becoming a global comedy legend. Chris Rock was an underrated SNL cast member in the early 1990s. He struggled to get his sketches on air and often felt left out. His edgy comedy didn't fit the show's tone at the time. After 3 seasons, Rock was fired. Instead of giving up, he took his talents to In Living Color and later created his own HBO special, Bring the Pain, which made him a star. Rock later said that SNL taught him what not to do in show business, and how failure can fuel success. His journey shows that being let go doesn't mean you're done. It can be the start of something greater. Sarah Silverman joined SNL in 1993 but lasted only 1 season. She wrote several sketches, yet none of them made it to air. She later said she felt invisible in the writer's room and realized that her style of humor just didn't match SNL's format. After being let go, Silverman spent years doing stand-up comedy and slowly built a reputation as one of the boldest voices in comedy. Looking back, she said she learned more from being fired than from any success. Her story is a lesson in patience, that sometimes rejection is just redirection toward something better. Dana Carvey joined SNL in 1986 and became one of its biggest stars, creating iconic characters like Garth from Wayne's World and the Church Lady. But by the early 1990s, he was feeling burnt out. When Mike Myers began getting more attention for Wayne's World, Carvey started feeling pushed aside. After 6 years, he decided to leave. He later admitted he wanted to spend more time with his family and avoid being stuck in one role forever. Carvey's departure showed that even success can bring frustration, and that sometimes the best decision is to walk away while you're still loved. Tracy Morgan was one of SNL's most unpredictable comedians from 1996 to 2003. His wild energy